My son said I eat but don't help. I didn't argue. I made one quiet decision that changed everything. Have you ever noticed how respect doesn't leave with a fight but with a sentence said too casually to take back? At what point does a father stop being a man in his child's eyes and start becoming a burden to be calculated? And how many older men sit quietly in houses they paid for, feeling like visitors in lives they built? I never imagined that after a lifetime of work, sacrifice, and patience, I would hear my own son look at me and say, calmly, almost carelessly, "You eat, but you don't help," as if my entire existence could be summed up in one humiliating line. I smiled because men like me were taught that arguing only makes things worse, but inside I understood something painful and final. This wasn't about food or money. It was about dignity slipping away in the very house I once gave him, the same house where I now walked carefully, spoke softly, and tried not to take up space, because growing old teaches you that humiliation often arrives politely, disguised as honesty. That sentence followed me everywhere, louder than any argument, especially in the quiet moments when the house emptied and I was left alone with memories that paid for those walls long before my son claimed them. And I started noticing how often I was reminded of my place. It wasn't done harshly or openly, but just enough to make it clear I was being tolerated, not respected, and measured by usefulness instead of love. When a man reaches this stage of life, he isn't afraid of hard work anymore. He's afraid of becoming invisible, of being reduced to still alive instead of still valued. And that's when I realized something my son never questioned: the house itself. He never asked about the paperwork or wondered why the deeds were never changed. Because confidence makes people careless, and assumption feels like ownership until it's tested. Nothing changed on the surface after that, and that was intentional, because I kept my routine and kept my silence, all while carrying a decision so calm it steadied me instead of shaking me. In the quiet hours, I gathered documents untouched for years, papers my son never thought to look for, and as I read names, dates, and signatures, I felt no anger, only clarity. It was the kind that comes when a man finally understands that love without boundaries turns into permission. Growing old doesn't mean losing control. It means learning how to use it without noise. And while my son lived comfortably inside assumptions, I made phone calls, attended meetings, and signed decisions he would never notice, because dignity doesn't need an audience. Then I heard the number for the first time, spoken plainly, almost casually: $2.8 million. Dollars. The house I bought with exhaustion and hope had grown in value the same way resentment and wisdom do, silently. I felt no triumph, only sadness, because my son hadn't disrespected me because he thought I was poor. He did it because he believed I was powerless, and the world has a way of correcting those mistakes when generosity is confused for weakness. The certified letter didn't arrive with drama. It was handed to him at his office, official and undeniable, and as he read it, everything he assumed collapsed into a single truth: the house was never his. For the first time, he understood that no one had betrayed him. His father had simply remembered who built, who endured, and who could walk away without raising his voice. After that, the house felt emptier, but my life felt lighter, because leaving wasn't revenge, it was reclamation. And I learned that the greatest legacy a man leaves behind isn't property or money, but the lesson that dignity can never be assumed. It must be earned, respected, and protected, even if that means walking away in silence. If this story meant something to you, please like the video and subscribe. I share one story every day, and I'd be glad to have you here for the next one.